These days, cameras are uber advanced. Fast autofocus, super high resolution, ultra sharp images, everything looks clean. Sometimes too clean. And I feel like once in a while, we need to dial that back a bit. In this video, I'll show you how to add more nostalgic analog feel to your videos, so less digital and more character. Hi, if you're new here, I'm Dice. I'm a photographer based in Christchurch, New Zealand. Dehancer reached out to me last year and asked if I wanted to try their film emulation software, Dehancer Pro, on my videos. Of course, I said yes. I've been using it ever since, and honestly, I think it's one of the best film emulation tools out there. This video isn't sponsored, by the way, but I'm super grateful to Dehancer for giving me the license to test it out. So what is Dehancer? Dehancer is a film emulation software that makes your digital videos look like they were shot on real film. It does this by simulating everything from the film stock to how it's developed, printed, and even how it behaves in a projector. You get film grain, halation, bloom, vintage colors, soft highlights, basically all the imperfections that made film so beautiful. This Dehancer color grading tutorial is beginner friendly. I'll walk you through how to use Dehancer inside DaVinci Resolve, from basic color correction to adding those signature film effects. I'll try to keep things simple, and I only use Dehancer for the entire grade. And yes, DaVinci Resolve is free, but Dehancer isn't. We'll talk about that later. Before we start, here's my Dehancer Pro workflow within DaVinci Resolve. I usually break it down into 3 simple steps. First is the prep. It's where the footage conversion or correction happens. This is where I fix the exposure, adjust the white balance, and apply a camera profile if I'm working with log. Basically, I want the image to look neutral and balanced before adding a look to my footage. Next is the look. This is the color grading part. Here is where I choose a film stock, tweak the film developer and film compression panels, and start shaping the mood. This is where your footage really start to look like film. The contrast, the colors, it happens all here. And finally, we add some sauce. This is the fun part, where I use Dehancer's effects, like rain, halation, bloom, maybe a touch of gate weave or vignette to give it the final filmic finish. That's it. Simple, 3-step workflow. So I've already set up some example footages here in DaVinci Resolve. So these are in different lighting conditions, and most of these were shot using a log profile using the X106. So the plan is to color grade one of these footages and quickly grade the rest after. Let's choose this footage of Violet from our spring shoot last year, because I think it's a pretty good base footage to color grade. So we have subject and skin tone and just overall good lighting. So yeah, let's head down to color tab and apply Dehancer to this footage. Editor Dice here. Just a quick heads up, I'm not a professional colorist or anything. Most of my color experience or editing experience came from photo editing in Lightroom and Photoshop and just basic grading in video. So this is more of a creator's approach to using Dehancer, so nothing super technical. So in the color tab, so once you install Dehancer to DaVinci Resolve, it goes automatically to your effects tab here, and then just scroll down to the bottom of your effects, and then you would see Dehancer Pro here. So I'll be using one node only to this color grading tutorial to make it super simple. And yeah, let's apply Dehancer Pro to our footage by dragging Dehancer Pro to the node. And as you notice, a Dehancer will apply default settings and effects to your footage as you drag it to your node, which is kind of weird. So we need to, as you can see, film, it's Dehancer chooses Kodak Vision 3 to 50D as a profile, and it's enabled. So let's just go down to options and disable all those settings by clicking this button. Let's start with input panel. Here you can convert your dull looking log footage, which is this one, to more vibrant and balanced output. So a log footage or profile is a flat video profile for your camera can shoot in. Log keeps more detail in the shadows and highlights. It gives you more flexibility in editing and especially for color grading. While Rec 709, which is this one, is pretty much the standard color profile for most screens like TVs, mobile phones, and other like your monitor. Yeah, so the colors are already bright and contrasty and sharp. So basically a baked-in look for your footage. So because I filmed these and like using my X106, let's choose camera here. So there's a few options here, but for this footage, I use F-Log2 and using my Fujifilm X106, so I'll just be choosing my camera in these drop down here. So I use F-Log2, so I'll be choosing that. So now you'll see that we brought back the colors and contrast, and the footage now looks way better. So yeah. So we also have a few options under here. If you want to tweak your exposure, if you shot your footage like a little bit overexposed, you can tweak it here. And then also if your white balance is kind of off, you can again tweak it here. So let's add a bit of warmth to this footage. I think that's pretty good. And tint, if you want more like magenta or green, you can fix it here as well. And the fringe is just basically it helps you eliminate those chromatic aberration if you're using like a vintage lens or something like a cheap lens. That's it for our first step, which is the conversion and correction. Let's move on to the next one, which is the color grade or adding the look. But before we start, I'd recommend to just go straight to monitor and then just check this clipping indication. So this will just help us with our color grading and monitor our highlights and shadows way better. Okay, that's sorted. Let's start our color grading with the film panel here. The film panel is where you can see a bunch of film profiles under this drop down, which provided by Dehancer, which you can apply and add a base look to your footage. I normally use a Kodak Vision 3, which these four here, yeah, just usually shuffle from 200T or 250D for daylight and tungsten. But for this case, I kind of like the warmness that 200T gives to footages, and I would choose that here. But before that, each Dehancer panel, you need to enable it first to see the changes, or just turn it on basically. So yeah. And I normally leave the push and pull slider in the middle. This slider adjusts your footage like you're changing your exposure when you're shooting like film. This sometimes affect the exposure, the color, and the overall mood of your footage. So moving on to the next panel. So after choosing a film stock above like this film panel here, the film developer lets you control how that film was processed in the lab. So just like in real analog photography. So basically, the film panel here gives you the base look, while the film developer decides how the look comes out. Some of the key controls are contrast boost, which adds contrast to your image or footage, especially in the midtones. It basically adds depth to your footage. And then gamma correction, which adjusts the midtone brightness of your footage or your image. This is great for brightening or darkening your image without clipping the shadows or highlights. Color separation, which controls how distinct the colors from each other, almost like increasing the space between them. It's kind of the vibrancy slider in Lightroom. And color boost, it amplifies the overall color intensity, but in a very organic way, not your typical saturation slider. So let's enable it and then just tweak it a little bit. So I want to add a little bit of contrast to this footage by moving it to the right hand side. So as you can see, this is the clipping indication. So if you see blue here, your blacks are like crushed basically. So it's clipping, so no detail there. So we need to tone it a little bit to the left. Gamma correction, just basically want to add more contrast. So it's okay to clip here because there's a few more panels here that helps you negate the clipping, by the way. So it's okay to clip while you still at the film developer. So I think that looks good for me. And color boost, I think that's good for me. Color separation, I keep that to 100 because yeah, it looks good. Moving on to the next panel, which is the film compression. This is one of my favorite Dehancer tools. Basically, the film compression panel simulates how real film handles the highlights. This panel is really good for controlling overexposed skin or skies. So note that this will not restore clip areas. Like if you overexpose your sky a little bit, too much, you will not get back those details. So be careful. Let's enable it and then just tweak it. So impact is like the main strength of the film compression effect. Think of it like it's the on and off dial of this effect here. White point, this sets the threshold where compression starts. Basically, how bright is too bright. So lower it, the compression affects more of the image or the footage. Raised it, and only the brightest highlights are compressed. So tonal range, this controls how wide the compression range is from highlights down to the midtones. So if I raise it to the right hand side, you can see that the image or the footage will become like flat. Let's go back and just bring it to the middle, I think, until I can see the details of her clothes here, because that one is like too flat for me. So yeah, let's go back. I think that's good for me. Color density is, this adjusts how rich or soft the colors are in the compressed areas like the highlights. It helps bring back color detail that might get washed out in highlights. Now moving on to expand. This panel helps you bring back true blacks and whites after using the film compression panel here. So it restores contrast and gives you your image that final polished look, like stretching the image or the footage to feel that full dynamic range, but in film-like way. So basically adds another layer of contrast to your footage. So if I want to see the clipped areas here, like the shadows, I can remove that by adjusting my black point to the left. So just dragging it to the left until it's gone. So, and then the white point is just basically adds depth to your highlights. So you can see I can make the image a little bit brighter by moving it there. And then color mode is just basically controls the luminance and then the color. So normal is when you move a black point or white point sliders, it's basically tweaking the luminance and the colors a little bit in your footage, while Luma is just targeting the luminance. That's it for expand. Now we're going to print. So after simulating the look of a film stock and how it's developed, the print panel simulates how your footage look when printed into like a real photographic paper. So just like in the old days in darkroom, it's what gives the final image that rich, finished cinematic look. So you can think of it as the film print you'd actually watch in a cinema or hold in your hand as a photo print. So we have a bunch of print profiles here. Linear is pretty much the standard profile. while this Cineon film log is used for more advanced color grading. But I'm interested with these three here, so let's enable it first. Fujifilm 3513 print film is Fuji's cinema print stock. Typically, the look is like more neutral or slightly cool compared to the next one, which is the Kodak 283 print film. This is the classic motion picture print stock used in like Hollywood movies and films. It gives you clean contrast, deep blacks, and slightly warm tones. So let's just choose Fujifilm for now. So you can see it's kind of has that balance, but you have those slightly more neutral and cool tones here, while the Kodak is that warmer. But again, my favorite is the Kodak Endura glossy paper. It's like a photo print paper used for like still images. This gives that subtle organic finish like printed photos. It's perfect for that vintage photo vibe, and if you have like slow paced edits and nostalgic footages, you can use this. I would highly recommend using this. So let's use this analog range limiter. This limits your footage to the real brightness and contrast range, so meaning no crushed blacks if you check this, and also no blown out highlights. So let's check that because I find this too contrasty now, so let's just check it. And then now it's a little bit flat, which you can again negate by adding exposure or tweaking your tonal contrast and color density and saturation here. Let's add more brightness to the image, and then again add contrast while doing that. I think that's pretty good. And I find that the image is a little too warm now, so I would head back to my temperature compensation at the input panel and then just tweak it a little bit to the left. And I think that's good for me. And then just go back to the print and add more exposure. Color density is like a saturation slider, but only targets some colors. So I think it targets the reds and warm tones. Like for example, her lips is going too red here. So I would keep it like in the low end here. I think that's pretty good. Saturation, I would just keep that as in the default state, which is 100. Let's move on to color head, which is pretty the same as the the color grading panel in Lightroom, or I think it was called split toning before in Lightroom. So it's pretty similar to that. Let's enable it. Basically, this color head panel is where you can adjust the intensity of your CMY or cyan, magenta, and yellow channels and add tones to your shadows, midtones, and highlights. You want to fine-tune your color grade, you can definitely use this, but I just normally tweak my shadows, midtones, highlights here. I don't really mess with the CMY channels here. So let's make the shadows a little bit balanced and not warm. And I'm putting it to the left hand side. And midtones, let's add warmness to the skin because I find it too flat. So let's just add back that warmness. Highlights, I would just keep it in the middle. I think that's pretty good for me. Now moving on to our last step, which is adding Dehancer effects or the sauce. In this step, we will add film grain, halation, bloom, which adds more character to our footage. Let's start with film grain. This is where you add realistic grain to your footage based on real film stocks, so not just digital noise. So basically, most of the film effects here have like tool profiles for 8mm, 16, 35, and also 65. So film grain, I normally use 35, 50. So you can also add custom film grain here if you want. So there's a few options here, but I just normally use 35 or 65. The next one is halation. Have you seen those red-orange glow that appears around bright areas in movies, especially in like super bright areas and light sources? That is called halation. This is great for adding character and warmth to backlit scenes or faces, and it's one of my favorite film effects from Dehancer. So let's enable that. Normally we'll stick to 35 again, super 35 or 65, 70. If you want to go crazy, use any profile that has the no rimjet tag here. So a rimjet is basically an anti-halation layer that is added to film stocks that somehow controls or negates halation. So let's try 35 mil here for now. So as you can see, let's check out some of the highlights here. It's very subtle. Oh yeah, you can totally notice it here. See the branch? So if you choose 35, it's more subtle. Use 70, again, the subtlest. But if you use like any with the no rimjet option here, you can see that it just goes wild. So I think that's too much. Let's choose 35 mil, just the middle, I guess. So I think that looks good. So I'll keep it like that. And then going to the next one, which is bloom. Oops, sorry. Bloom. Bloom is the soft glow around bright areas. So it mimics how older film and lenses react to strong light. The modern counterpart of this is using those diffusion filters like Tiffin Black Pro Mist or the Glimmer Glass or the Moments Cine Bloom filters. It's basically the same as it, but this one is added like digitally. It's not like a filter, like a physical filter. So again, I normally just, because I use Glimmer Glass to my like X106 or most of my lenses, I have mist filter. I just make it super subtle if I ever use bloom. So I just go to 65 and then just tweak it, minimize the amplification here. And yeah, you can also check the mask mode so you can see what areas are being affected to your when you're using bloom, and also when you're using halation here. So that's really nice to have. So let's just uncheck that. And I would just choose 65 here. Film damage does exactly what the name suggests. So it adds random dust and scratches and imperfections, just like old film reels. It makes your footage look aged or old. Great for retro and archival feel. Use this sparingly unless you are intentionally going for that vintage look. Film breath simulates the slight exposure, flicker, and subtle camera jitter seen in real film projection. So it's film breath, and gate weave has that similar, like in terms of effects, because if you use film breath, you're probably gonna use gate weave as well, because both film effects support each other. So I'll just keep it unchecked for now because I kind of like the look at the moment. So yeah, overscan is just adding the actual film scan, including the edge you'd normally never see. So it's like pulling the camera back and seeing the raw film edges. Well, like example here, you have a few options here like super 35, super 8, and standard 16, and also like widescreen. You can also remove the perforation, so you can turn it off or make it like positive, and also change the orientation. It's kind of cool. And also like do more tweakings if you want to, and also make the gate moving while it's playing, which is really very cool if you want that super vintage vibe. So yeah, that's for overscan. And vignette is just adding that subtle vignette to your image. You can see you can also decrease exposure if you want to. But for this footage, I wouldn't add it. And more panels here. Monitor, we've already talked about it. Like clipping indications just basically helps you with your color grading. And false colors, it's kind of more advanced. I don't really use it. Output is like the total impact of your effect, your color grade using Dehancer. I think it's really good for like before and after. I think that's the only case that I would choose to use this. So yeah, and LUT generator, if you want to export the LUT that you've done here, you can definitely do that using small and normal. I haven't really used this, but it's very helpful for like if you want to share your color grade to others. And options is just, yeah, if you want the quality of, like, I think the playback, and I'm not really sure, but yeah. And check profiles is just if Dehancer updates or added more profiles like camera profiles to Dehancer, you can update it here and just license and then disable all tools. So I think that's it for our color grade for this footage. And let's head back to the top and then just before and after. Yeah, I'm really quite happy with this one, so I would quickly grade the others and I'll be back. So I quickly color graded these to whatever I think it's a good color grade. So I'm just eyeing it most of the time. So for this one, it's very like a dynamic scene with the sun going up there and also getting that flare or kind of misty washed kind of cinematic look here. It's very cool, like having it from contrasty here and then you get like that washed look here, but it's very cinematic. And with this one is like a shade lighting. I just went super like neutral and balanced, and having the skin tone just basically, yeah, looks good. Also the greens very nice and toned down, which is very good look for this footage. This one is kind of I went to like a warm it's like a sunrise kind of color instead of like the blue R grade. So it just makes it Dehancer a very powerful color grading tool, because you can definitely make this a little bit like in the blue R scene by just dragging the color head, shadows, midtones, and tone to the far left here to make it more moody and kind of overcast. So yeah, it's very powerful and really good. So this one is using a Rec 709 footage. So I didn't really use any F-Log2 or S-Log, but it's still using, I still use the X106 for this one. So notice that I use Kodak Vision 3 250D here because it's a daylight scene, and it's I think I balance it for like daylight, and also push it to the right part to have that warmness back instead of just it looks like an overcast day. I have it like it's like a sunset or something like with the sun. So that's how I use Dehancer Pro to bring some character back into my videos. Dehancer is honestly great, and it's a powerful tool if you want to move away from the clean digital look and lean into something that feels more crafted and intentional. The only downside for me is the price, especially if you're just getting started. But they do offer options, monthly, yearly, or even a lifetime license. They've also separated some of its best features like the halation effect, the film grain, and the bloom if you just want those effects. If you found this helpful, give it a like, maybe drop a comment below if you have some questions. And if you're thinking of trying Dehancer, don't forget to use my code below to save 10%. I've also got more videos coming soon for like post-processing and more editing. So if that's your thing, hit subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.